All right, beautiful souls, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Mamina. You can call me Mina for short. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button, and of course, to be notified when I post new readings, tap that bell for all and like and comment below. You can find out how to book with me through the links in my description. Everything you need to know is in the description. So make sure you guys read that, okay? Let's hop on into this collective reading. We start off with the Hierophant card. So this is the energy coming in. A lot of you have had limited beliefs, and you've had different excuses for those limited beliefs. But now, within the last year, now going on into these later months, you've had more and more signs that it's time to come up out of that belief system. It's not that you didn't have signs before, but you ignored them, or again, something else bigger might have happened to distract you from that sign. Now, with everything you've witnessed, with everything you've experienced from 2020 heading into 2021, you're like, there's something else going on here. I got to change my thought process. I can't keep putting a limit on what's possible. I can't keep just using my background or my heritage as an excuse to not evolve or comprehend or understand something else when information comes in. You're opening yourself. I feel like you're an open book. Now, this might only be with yourself for the moment, meaning that you're experiencing this on a personal level, and you're probably keeping it to yourself a bit because you want to really get to know self. You don't really want someone else's opinion who could be close to you, and they're still stuck in their limited belief, and they'll probably they don't mean no harm, but they might encourage you to pedal backwards. And you're like, nah, I don't want to pedal backwards. I want to keep going forward. So let's just center in myself and get to know myself and what I question things. Nothing wrong with questioning, but understand that you have to be willing to handle the answers. And sometimes some answers aren't meant to come to you right away. They're meant to come to you through an experience. And that's why the 10 of Wands is here. You've had a lot of burdens. I feel like each one of these wands represents a phase in your life. So for some of you, it could have been over the last 10 years, but it represents a phase in your life of very intense lessons. Some good, some bad. Okay, for many of you, a lot of bad ones, or what you would consider to be bad. But I want you to change your thought process on this. Each of those wands, each of those so-called burdens are now a lesson. Not a lesson that's meant to make you frigid or judgmental, but a lesson that you can evolve from and say, now I know better, I can do better. Now I understand why this person may have treated me this way. It doesn't have to be that it's your fault the person treated you that way, but you took time, a little bit of empathy to understand where their perspective was coming from. Because over the years, you've snapped on people yourself. Some of you here, you've done some things that can make a person feel like you would be unforgivable. But if you take a minute to try to understand the person's background, to try to understand their point of view, it actually helps you to be more empathetic, and it helps you to forgive and evolve. It's not about having to hang with them. It's not about having to open the door and let them back in your life, but you release the energy of being triggered by that person, place, or thing. You're releasing it. You're no longer chained. You're no longer burdened. I want you to notice the castle's right off in the distance. That's where this person's taking the delivery of wands. They're taking them to that castle or to that tower to be dropped down, never to be picked up again. Triggers, burdens, these are things that you're meant to understand the lessons of and then let go. And that's where humans have a struggle, letting go. Humans don't like change too much, even if it's changing something that's toxic. But we live in a universe, we live in multi-dimensions where everything changes all the time. It's a consistent life form. It never dies, but it changes all the time. Your goal is to change, evolve. It doesn't mean, change doesn't have to mean I no longer like a specific person. I no longer want to do this particular thing, but it means that you gain new perspectives. Each day that you're alive, you understand that whenever you go through a challenge, instead of being fearful, instead of feeling like it's holding you back, you go, okay, there's no problems without solutions. So what's the solution here? What's the key? Don't wreck your brain too much over it. Just let it come. Just let it flow. And you go, dang, it's that? I could 2 seconds, right? And what I love about this is we head into the Magician card. The Magician card, the Magician takes every element and every skill that they've learned to manifest what they need. Because why? They've learned how to tap into their inner power. And I feel like that's another reason the Hierophant is here. Faith. You learn how to tap into another power when you change your belief systems, when you allow yourself to be open-minded, when you manifest from the heart. So take that magician power, that manifesting power, that magic, and go into your heart space. And from now on, when you create, what brings you joy? Most people create out of survival. Most people create out of anger, animosity. And that's where you have to take responsibility, because while a person can trigger you, while a person could have done something you didn't deserve, you have the choice of clinging to whatever that trauma or situation is. It's not about controlling whether or not they did it. It's about, how am I going to respond to this from now on? Am I going to still be a victim of whatever that is? Am I still going to be triggered by anger, which makes me act out? Now I put a vibration in the air that manifests as more problems for myself. You see, they don't suffer from your problems. Do they have karma to deal with? Sure. But your key problem, the thing that you're going to run into the next day, if you let yourself be consumed by whatever that person or place did to you, you suffer through that. So when you realize, oh, I don't have to suffer to that. I don't have to carry that burden. I don't have to say I'm never going to get over blah, blah, blah. I can actually get over it. Mountains are meant to go over, not to just keep standing and trying to, go up, slide back down, go up, slide back down. You're meant to get over the hill, over the mountain, over the peaks. So when you understand that, you tap into that power because you realize how powerful you are. And yes, your world will shift. It's not about having to control people, but the people who start to come towards you, the places you end up going, all seem to work out for your highest good and purpose. And let me explain something about your purpose, because I've been picking up in the energy. A lot of people are still questioning this, especially with all of the stuff going on and figuring out spirituality. They're still kind of questioning, what's my purpose? You are. Look in your mirror. Pull out your phone, turn on your camera, look at your face. You are your purpose. Every experience, what inspires you, what sparks you to create, what you manifest from your heart space, that is your purpose. And whatever that is has a service. Okay, whether it's, I just saw 7-Eleven, whether it's creating your own company, whether it's being a mentor, whether it's working somewhere and just making sure that when people experience you, meaning talk to you, interact with you, that they have this impression of like, wow, that person really made me feel awesome today. That person was really cool. They don't forget you because you do everything from the heart. You do everything with a clear mind. You do everything with true, genuine compassion and understanding. You don't let yourself get played. Don't mistake what I'm saying. But you allow yourself to be fully you. That contributes to the collective. This is something else, people. In this age, you now have to realize. For a long time, you've been taught to think of self, 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 self. And that's fine. Self-love is very important. How you love you is how another person will love you. At the same time, every single day, you are contributing to the collective. We are all woven together in the tapestry. So your experiences will contribute to someone else's experience the same way somebody else contribute to yours. Somebody that hurt you contribute to your experience, did they not? Well, guess what? In their past, they might have been hurt. They might have been through the same experience they put you through. When you get something joyful, when something's happy and you're laughing is contagious. So, somebody else starts laughing. Guess what? You contribute to someone's joy that day the same way someone contributes to you. Do you see what I'm saying here? So the more you tap into this self journey and the more you find your way to express yourself on the outside, as much as you can in your imagination on the in, you realize that the people who start coming around you have a different vibration. And people who can't be on par with your vibration, they fall off and you let them. That's another thing you guys are struggling with. That's another one of those wands. Having people, whether it's family, friends, just somebody you feel indebted to, when they start getting cruel, when they start to take anger out on you, and they may not even mean to do it. But when they do it, you kind of allow it and you stay within the funk of it. And you'll tap into tradition. Some tradition doesn't always have to be of a religion. Tradition can just be this routine that you've done all your life since childhood or teen years. A parent may treat you cruelly and the next day they act like nothing happens. Everybody sweeps everything under the rug like it's okay and move on with life. This is a pattern. So then when it's time for you to go out in the world, that's the pattern that you understand. That's what you're used to. And you make friends and it repeats and repeats and repeats and it repeats at work. And it just keeps going. For some of you, anger builds up, you lash out. For others, you seem very timid, but inside there's a lot of frustration. It's not always sadness. Some of you it is sadness, but for most of you, it's a lot of frustration. Like, Day in and day out, I put up with the same shit. That's what I'm hearing somebody say. But listen to your words. Day in and day out, I put up with the same shit. That's a choice. Right? It's a choice. So if old friends have to fall off because they're old friends at this point, right? Then you let them fall off so that the new people who can genuinely support you, whom you will genuinely support, can come in. If the relatives who don't know how to, give you encouragement, they don't know how to understand you or support you, if they don't understand what you're doing, you don't worry about their judgment. If you need to take time away from them, then you do so. It's about evolving. Sometimes that's the trigger needed for the people around you to also evolve. Because, you're going to have some, let's be real, some of you've been through this already. So what you're hearing right now is the experience that you're either in the middle of or you've been through that part of. But there are some here who are going through it and they don't know how to get out of it. But for those of you who've experienced it, you know what I'm talking about. You'll get successful with something, and that person who was supposed to be your friend or was supposed to be your cousin or whatever puts you down about it. And you allow it to affect you. Why? For what purpose? What does it serve? Now, you notice that they're a part of that collective, and their thought just affected you, but it's affecting you because you allowed it to. When you actually realize, I don't have to allow you to do anything, because if you were genuinely my friend, my success wouldn't upset you. You would also realize that my success is your success. Because who's to say I wouldn't have you as an assistant? Who's to say that I wouldn't be able to meet someone who can help you with your dream through what I'm doing? That's what we're here for. We are here to help serve each other. One of the humans' biggest contributing factor is helping each other. We have to impact each other's lives. It's a part of our structure. It's one of the many reasons we're here. So what I love about the star card coming out is the star card is that wish fulfillment, but it's also spirituality and faith. So you have two things here representing faith, representing belief. The difference with the Hierophant is sometimes the Hierophant stands more in the belief system. And there's tradition in that, but there's also trying to look at tradition from a different perspective. At the end of the day, whatever you choose, you put tremendous faith in it, and faith makes in other words, faith manifests as your path as well, because what you choose to have faith in is also what comes into your life. This is also the card of Taurus. So this is Taurus energy here, the 5. Some people say it's the 6 of the tarot because they count the Fool as 1 instead of 0. But this is the 5 and this is the Hierophant. Whichever number may resonate with you, you could be a Taurus. That could be in your chart somewhere. But even if it's not, that means that the energy of Taurus is affecting your reading right now. And that's a major arcana. And then we have the Magician and the Star here, and the Star card is literally pulling your dreams, pulling your aspirations from the sky, bringing them down to earth and embodying them in your current incarnation. I feel like some of you are the Hermit. Even though the Hermit card isn't out here, many of you, if you're not Virgo, you are like the Hermit. You went into solitude for a minute, or you felt like you were excluded or exiled, because the moment you started your spiritual journey, the moment you started acting different, doing some self-love, doing some self-searching, people started treating you different and made you feel alone. Like they didn't want to understand you. They're stuck in their traditions. They're stuck in their limited beliefs, and they can't comprehend you. And that's not everyone's journey here, but some of you. And that right there made you feel like, well, I'm alone. And so for a minute, you went through that phase. And now it's time to come out of that phase. Let me explain the Hermit card to you, because this applies to some of you watching. What the Hermit is truly doing is he's reached up into the sky, and he's pulled the North Node from the sky, the North Star, and he's planted it, and it's his North Star. So for those of you who know your chart, what is your North Node? But he's pulled that North Star down, he's put it into his lantern, and it lights his path. Now, this is an unknown path. He can't predict everything that's going to happen. He can gain clarity and guidance, which is what these readings are for, clarity and guidance. He can gain that, but there's going to be some challenges. There's going to be tremendous blessings, because every lesson is a blessing. And then he's going to reach a goal, a spark. And when he finds it, that's when he pretty much goes over the mountain or over the hill. He finds a new place. He finds a new way of existing. He finds himself. So it might have seemed lonely and dreary for some at a time, even if there were people around. But the goal is the discoverer of self-love, which helps him to then project self-love because he followed that celestial star, that divine guidance. And that's what a lot of you are being pushed towards. Some of you are very afraid of change. You're afraid of things being too different. And it makes those tower moments in your life feel destructive even when they're not necessarily destructive. That's the other thing. The tower is not always destructive. These cards haven't come out here, but I'm an intuitive reader and channel. So I'm seeing you guys in your lives. I'm seeing you go through your day by day doing things and you don't like it, but you're afraid of something being drastically different. And so the moment, it could be a good thing. It could be a promotion that you weren't expecting to have. And some of you are like, a promotion? But why? It's so sudden. Instead of being like, oh snap, extra pay, and so this reading, this guidance right now is to help you to have clarity and catch those moments. If you are in your solitude at the moment, are you ready to come out of it? Are you staying in it because you're afraid of the massive change that'll now happen once you step outside? You don't have to just sit in meditation all day. You have to experience the world to some extent. Are you experiencing the world? Because the whole time the hermit is traveling, he's doing exactly that, traveling astrally and physically, which is why we see him in many cards walking on a winding road or in a desert-like space or in an open land area. It means he's traveling both in meditation as well as in his physical existence. And I do feel like traveling is coming up here for some of you. But this is you tapping into the power. With that vibration being here with the star, the magician, and the Hierophant, that's tremendous power that you have available to you right now. But you have to do your due diligence. You have to put in the work. It can't just be, okay, I'm just going to meditate and that's it. Okay, I'm just going to do self-love talk and that's it. Okay, I'm going to knock off like a few people that treat me wrong, but I'm going to keep some of the others around because, they're familiar. No. You got to do your due diligence. Whatever that idea is, whatever that sparks, so many of you have ideas. So many of you are in such a creative mode right now and you have not even acted upon it. And this 8 of coins is saying, okay, let's go. It's time for you to learn this new skill. It's time for you to put in this work. It's time for you to be honest with it. Now, most people would say hard work with the 8 of coins. I'm going to teach you a new phrase that's very important. Work smart versus just hard. At first, you might have to work hard to get things off the ground. But now it's time to implement smart ways to go about what you're doing so that you can actually not only enjoy what you're doing, but enjoy the benefits of what you're getting out of it. So whether that's being able to, again, travel, have days off, work from home and set your own hours. Of course, you still would have to have hours that you're doing your job, but then you also get to have like the rest of the day to yourself as well to experience. For those of you with family, you got a wife, kids, husband, kids, whatever it may be, you get to experience them. Experience is key. You get to be present. Presence is very key. Okay. And that brings in that Ace of Cups, which is also a sign of spirituality because like I've told you guys, the cups in my readings, it represents a lot of spirituality, the spiritual emotions of a situation. We manifest from our emotions. Emotions is energy in motion. So what we feel, that's truly what helps us also manifest. That's why we can think something in our brain. We can think something's supposed to go a certain way. But if our emotions is the opposite of that, like let's say you say to yourself, I want to manifest moving to a country I've always wanted to visit. But your feelings is that will never happen. So you're thinking about wanting to do it. You're planning for doing it, but your feelings is telling you never going to happen. You have to be in balance. Again, the magician is balanced in what he manifests. He uses all his elements, all his skills, recognizes his self-power in order to bring into the reality that he's in what he wants. In other words, in many cases, he creates his own version of universe. So your feelings and your thoughts have to balance out here. Your mind doesn't know that you're joking when you say negative things about yourself or another. It doesn't get the joke. It's too logical. Your earthly mind, it's too logical for that. It's like, what's a joke? What do you mean you said that you hated yourself, but you weren't being serious? What did you mean you said you didn't want that promotion because of whatever, but you weren't telling the truth? Like, it doesn't get that. So this is about also tapping into balancing your spiritual mind, that Ace of Cups, which is emotions and spiritual mind, with your physical mind, The swords is the in-between world for me. It's in between spiritual because thoughts are still spiritual, and in between physical because thoughts are how we place together what it is we're going to do. So hopefully you guys are following along, because all of this is channeling in very fast. But emotional fulfillment, feeling that cup overflowing, forget half full, overflowing abundantly. Feel that feeling of abundance is what helps you with having pride in what you manifest. And then there's success. Now I feel like logic stands out to me on this card, because some of you might have been too logical at one point, and that's why that Ace of Cups is also here to say, hey, now, there has to be a balance between spiritual and logic. Logic has more than one way of existing. I always tell you guys, logic is subjective to what you've been taught to be logical. So there's flexibility in everything. Are you choosing to be flexible, or are you choosing to be static? And then we have spiritual guidance. I always say this is me. For the most part, not just because of like the red and gold, but because most of the time, if you're drawn to a person like me, it's for spiritual guidance. That's what you're here for, So it's to figure out and tap into that part of yourself. That's what I'm here to do. I bring out the part of you that's intuitive, the part of you that already knows the answer, but for some reason on the surface, you just can't find it. You kind of feel like you're drowning a bit. And I'm here to pretty much say, well, you're drowning because you're fighting it. So why don't you just lay still and let the waves take you where you got to go? Set the vibration, set the frequency, and then let the waves take you where you got to go. Why are you thrashing against something that you can't, it'll overtake you otherwise. And sometimes it's a good thing that it overtakes you. Sometimes it's good to get a little overtaken by the joyful emotions, or to get into your shadow side and feel it so that you can heal it. Right? And that's the kind of guidance we give. But I also feel like this is some of you. This is you guys gaining spiritual guidance, not only from your ancestors, guardians, and different deities that help you on your path, but even with finding videos like this. It's your own intuition that takes what it resonates with. You just have to remember to separate intuition from opinion. Your intuition, and many people have a very logical thought about intuition. Intuition that I'm talking about, it channels through your third eye and your crown. And your third eye and your crown are connected to those celestial planes. They're connected to the core of source, but they're also connected to your higher self. The self that we're in the age of integrating with. We're no longer supposed to just see higher self, present self, subconscious. This is about coming together with all of our consciousness in order to expand that consciousness out beyond anything that we've taken time to comprehend before. So I feel like a lot of you might be practicing tarot. You could be getting into storytelling. You could be into music, because storytelling is a part of channeling, actually. Writing songs, writing poems, especially when you don't know where it came from. Like, you know that you felt an emotion or you had an experience, but you quite don't understand how the words came out the way they did. That's why you're tapping into a channel. And I feel like when you nourish your ideas, when you take time to really let yourself feel grounded and secure in what you're doing, you step into that Queen of Coins energy. This reading is for masculines and feminines. And you can have the Queen of Coins come out here to represent a certain part. Also, if you follow me on Instagram, I've been saying, I keep seeing bunnies. Bunnies, prosperity bunnies. I keep seeing like gold bunnies hopping around. A couple of people making organized have made gold bunnies. You could be in the year of the rabbit as well. But if you see a bunny, that's a sign. Especially if you're like in the city and then all of a sudden you just see like a random bunny hopping around, like, what the deuce is going on here? Bunnies represent prosperity. And a lot of you, I feel like, are hopping into that prosperity. You just have to allow it. Just let go, let flow. Let's get into the last cards. For the 10 of Wands and the 8 of Coins, we have patience. Wait for the fruit to ripen. For the Magician and the emotions here, as well as a little bit of the Star, we have share. The busy bee should still make time for each flower. And then this one here, this is one of the big ones. We have generosity. Sow seeds of kindness. This right here really, really benefits these two cards. And that's another great way to tap into your spirituality and get spiritual guidance. Generosity. Be generous to those who help you on your path. I don't care if it's a collective reading, if it's the person at the store that told you what aisle to get the item you were looking for. The more that you have this genuine, like, I'm grateful, vibration to yourself, and the more that you're generous with your energy in that way, the more you manifest into your life. You sow those seeds of kindness and it comes back. Grateful and generosity go hand in hand. You have to be grateful for when other people are generous to you and pay that back. So this doesn't mean that you put up with crazy-ish. Again, not about putting up with toxic stuff. You face it and deal with it. You cleanse it out. But when you're dealing with somebody and it's a moment to take action of being kind, you allow yourself to do that from your heart space. And you never regret doing it from the heart space. I'm going to wish you guys peace, love, and light. I hope that message brought clarity and guidance to your situation. If you wish to book a personal reading for your own encouragements, your own guided light, you can do so from the link in the bio.